Hello everyone, Suutamie here, your local community translator. Recently I uploaded a reaction video to the most recent Pokemon Presents. If you would like to give it a watch, it will be linked up above. But in today's video, since a few days have passed and I have had a bit of time to gather my thoughts, we will be looking into what we saw during the Presents in a bit more detail. I do prefer to do breakdowns of the Japanese trailers, but this time around the Japanese trailer and the English trailer were nearly identical. The only real point of interest regarding the Japanese is the names of Pokemon, characters and places. And I will be covering all of this in an upcoming video, so please make sure you're subscribed with the notifications turned on so you don't miss out. Additionally, I also have past videos where I explain the names of the starters as well as the legendaries. So please do check them out if you're interested. But everybody has their own thoughts, theories and speculations. Additionally, everyone has their own hopes for these games. So I thought I would take this chance to share some of my own thoughts and opinions from this Presents. As always, liking, subscribing and sharing helps a lot. I have a lot of interesting video content in the works, so make sure that notification button is turned on. But with all that being said, let's get on with the video. So this Presents shared the information in two different ways, one being a short trailer, and second being an explanation video where they went into all the same information that was in the trailer but in a lot more detail. At the start I'll be talking briefly about the trailer, but I'll quickly move on to the explanation video since that's where a lot of the important details lie. So I just want to start off by mentioning the mascot outfits of the three starters that we see at the very start of this Scarlet and Violet section of the Presents. These large mascots are used frequently in Japan for various events, promotion, etc. But if I remember correctly, this is the first time starters have been made into mascots, not including Pikachu and Eevee of course. When originally watching the Presents, there was a point where I got excited because it implied voice acting. However, upon watching it again for this video, I actually read this on-screen text. Voiceovers are not present in-game, which makes the idea of in-game voice acting a little less confirmed. I'm hoping that this is just referring to the explanation voiceover that is in the longer detailed video of the Presents. But the fact that this text was shown just before the standard trailer that only had the headmaster's voice acting fills me with some unfortunate doubt. In the first few scenes, we get confirmation for a bunch of returning Pokemon lines, including Houndoom and Arcanine. If you count them together with all the other rumored dogs that we are meant to be getting, this region will be ruled by canines. And next we have the reveal of our first regional Paldean Pokemon, being Paldean Rupa. Honestly, I love Norma Rupa. I'm a huge Johto girl at heart. So most Johto Pokemon hold a special space in my heart, especially the early game mons. But this regional, it was rather disappointing honestly. The changes seem to be small, but I very much get the impression that this regional form exists purely to explain a different Paldean Rupa evolution that will be much more different from a Johto Quagsire. Next we have the appearance of Headmaster Clavel. This is the scene where voice acting is included. Hopefully this feature will make the final build. In my opinion, the whole game doesn't need to be voice acted, but I think it would really add to the world if a lot of important scenes had voice acting. This is also when we were told about treasure hunts, but not much about treasure hunts were explained. As expected, it seems we will indeed get either Miraidon or Koraidon early as a riding device. Beyond the other story points that we will discuss a little later, having access to a ride Pokemon seems necessary for the treasure hunt, as we will need to traverse far and wide to search for whatever it is that we are searching for. It's here that we see the different ride forms of Koraidon and Miraidon: Standard, Climb, Fly, and Swim. There may be more HM Standard skills that they may have, Dig for example, but for now that remains unknown. Also, honestly, when I first saw Koraidon's ride style, I was pretty baffled and confused by the complete uselessness of the wheel on its chest. But over a bit of time, I've come to think that it's a super cute quirk in its design. And hidden in the talk about treasure hunt, we finally get the first proper announcement of the region's name, being Paldea. When the Japanese name of the region was announced as Parodia, at first we didn't know exactly what this would mean for the English name, but we knew it would be some kind of variation. Some of the options included Parodia and of course Paldea, so they decided to go with Paldea it seems. Here we have a little scene of the player and Koraidon smoothly stopping at a gas station. It seems perhaps we will be able to interact at the station while still mounted on the legendaries. Some pictures from the official website also seem to confirm this. I think it's a pretty neat quality of life feature to be able to access something special like the Poke Center and Pokemart without needing to enter a building, which also likely means no transition scenes. I also like the variety of architecture it seems we are getting in Scarlet and Violet. Sometimes in Pokemon games there isn't a huge variety when it comes to landscape and cityscapes, so it's a nice feature, especially considering we have examples of more classic builds along with more modern and even futuristic architecture, fitting in well with the past future theming of these games. Here we have what seems to be the subway of the Pokemon world. It seems like sandwiches are really big in Paldea, along with hair dye. I've come to believe that the people of Paldea can live and survive happily as long as they have sandwiches and hair dye. From this point on in the small trailer, we mostly get information and reveals that are discussed more in the explanatory video that was played after the short trailer. So from now on, I'm going to be discussing that video instead. In the distance of this image, we see two buildings that look quite similar. One is without doubt a gas station, which we now know has a Poke Center, Pokemart and Wi-Fi connection. But although the building just behind it looks extremely similar, it seems pointless to have another gas station so close. So I wonder what this building does and what it offers to the gameplay. In this image of a town, we see what seems to be a potted, perhaps statue, of Sunflora. Considering we have long been rumored to be getting a Sunflora regional form, perhaps this is a hint. Maybe Paldean Sunflora will be potted. And more bread. Paldeans really love bread it seems. We finally get to see a bit more of Koraidon and Miraidon in this present. Beyond the ride feature discussed earlier, we can also see some of their personality and behaviors. I'm personally loving Koraidon's wild and quirky nature. Moving on to the stories, we are introduced to the schools that differ depending on the game you will be playing. Naranja or Uva. And it seems like there is a lot to explore in just the school alone. We have already seen a large outdoor space, a library, a kitchen and a cafeteria, and of course, classrooms. The return of the classic 8 gym challenges is revealed next as one of the stories. And tied to the story of gym challenges and becoming a champion is our first rival Nemona, who possibly seems to have the same goal in mind. We also get to see the Glacedo gym, its leader Grusha, and his apparent ace, Sir Titan, who is like a giant spiky white whale? 2 further story options are mentioned at this point, but details are not shared. However, we are shown what appears to be some type of team base, and a car with no driver, which we have since been hinted towards a connection with a Pokemon by Riddler Coup, along with scenes from a giant tower high up in the sky. And finally, onto the characters. Honestly, the characters are becoming my favorite part of Scarlet and Violet so far. From the professors to the rivals, gym leaders and even the possible Elite Four. The teachers, the NPCs, some of who could be important to the story, and even the different trainer classes. All have such great designs and look unique and cool. Perhaps it's just me, but Jock looks a little bit like Sycamore, but with access to hair dye and a more laid-back sense of fashion. Next, we are finally formally introduced to our last two rival characters, along with Nimona. We have our senior classman Arvin, who I will from this point on always refer to as Pepper, which is his Japanese name, who looks strongly similar to the two professors. And Penny, our shy classmate, but something tells me she isn't as shy as she seems. It's very likely that both of these characters will have some kind of tie-in with the two other stories. Moving on to the Pokémon. I personally love just how lived in this region feels. We see lots of Pokémon just living happily and naturally in different habitats around Paldea. Seeing scenes like this really helps make the region feel more vibrant and alive. I've already talked about Paldean Rupa and my opinions on it earlier. So let's move swiftly over to my new favorite doggo, Fido. I can say for certain that at some point in my playthrough, I will definitely have a Fido on my team. The naming of Fido alone is just top tier work. And lastly, we learn a little bit more about Gym Leader Grusha's likely ace, Sir Titan. It's said that it has a large horn that can freeze its surroundings. And it seems to be a bit of a barreling bully, based on how it's chasing this poor Cubchoo. We also get a brief look at our new Pokedex, and I personally love the look of this Pokedex. It seems as if each Pokemon will have their own little book or pamphlet in this deck system, and it just looks so visually appealing. Regarding multiplayer mode, it seems like there will only be 4 people connected at one time. While I did appreciate the attempt of the online system Sword and Shield implemented, it often became clunky and slow with so many users online at the same time, and the options for interactions between players were limited. I feel like this limited to a group of 4 system could help keep the game running smoothly, and it also seems like there are a lot more ways to interact with other players when on multiplayer mode in Scarlet and Violet. And lastly, we learn about the gimmick of Gen 9, terrestrial Pokemon. Honestly, I'm still undecided on if I like this gimmick or not. In the end, I'm probably going to end up indifferent about it, but I do like the special Pokeball that goes with the gimmick. It seems to be basically a mix of a stab boost, and it changes types in some cases. I'm not technically big into competitive play, so I don't really have an invested interest on how this will impact competitive play. But for me, it's a pretty average gimmick idea. So I'm hoping the story and lore behind it will make it a bit more interesting. And of course, raid battles are back with a terrestrial twist. I didn't really get into raid battles during Sword and Shield, but I do remember one annoying point was either needing to rely on AI or even other real players to be competent enough to actually heal and attack correctly. But it seems like you can control things at your own timing now. This should hopefully make things with raids a little bit smoother. Overall, after first watching this presents, I felt a little bit underwhelmed. The actual trailer felt jam-packed, but when watching the explanation video, I ended up feeling like we really didn't learn that much. Especially after such a long wait for official information. However, after a few days to think about everything, and to watch the presents again, I'm feeling a lot more positive and I definitely feel more hyped about the games. I love the small details of the things we saw in the trailer. How lived in the world feels, the different areas, the way Pokemon interact with one another and with people. The idea of having 3 stories to follow and to discover at our own pace is exciting. And I'm honestly looking forward to learning about all the characters we have seen so far. I'm still kind of meh on the gimmick, but I feel like there are enough other things to be excited about. And most importantly, this trailer helped me determine which game I will be playing first. Until now, I had been undecided. But seeing more of Koraidon made me decide I'm totally Team Scarlet. How can you not love that goofy dinosaur? But I will be getting and eventually playing both games. What did you think of the presents? Are you hyped for the game? Have you determined which game you will be playing? Please do drop a comment below to share your opinions, I'd love to hear them. And as always, liking, sharing, and subscribing really helps feed that algorithm. It's craving all that interaction just like a Paldean is craving all those sandwiches. So, thanks a ton for watching this video. And with that being said, it's come time to say mata ne. Bye bye!